What's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music, and I just finished a new intermediate foundation course over at martymusic.com. And what that means is after you're a beginner, I put together all the things that you're going to want to practice basically for the rest of your guitar playing journey, the foundation that you can then expand upon. So that's a brand new course over at my website, martymusic.com. This is a chapter right now. This is near the beginning as I just kind of review all that basic foundational stuff, but also the concepts behind them. And so this is Barre Chords. I think it's really helpful. Check it out. All right, so a while back when I was talking about the caged, there was no F in there. It's not caged. And the reason there's no F chord in there is because on guitar we play F from the E shape. We don't always think of it. I usually teach this to beginners. You know, a kind of cheater way to play F. Then there's what I kind of call the acoustic folk F. But even that, if you look at it, it's the E shape up a half step. And remember how E to F is a half step? Well, E up a half step with the index finger down as the nut to make the open strings go up a half step with it. You're not playing E major, F major. So that's why there's no F in the caged method, because F is actually from the E shape. So just wanted to point that out, and that's why we didn't talk about F up until this point. But let's just start with F, right? F major. Well, with Barre Chords, this also goes back to the very first chapter of wanting to know and starting to memorize the notes on the neck, and most importantly, the E and the A string as you're leaving beginner into intermediate phase. And here's one of those great reasons, is so we can find the root and then plug in a chord. So if I said F major, I want to find a root, an F note. So an F major chord, I have an F note right there. And when you find the root on the E string, you use the corresponding E shape to create the chord. So if I find the root on the E shape, the root on the E string, first fret is an F, and I want to play F major, then I have to now play an E major shape, like that. E root, E shape. Now if I wanted to make that an F minor chord, I changed that from an E major shape to an E minor shape. So now this is F minor. And that's how we're finding a root and a corresponding shape. So let's play F major, but we'll find the root on the A string. So A, B, half step to C, D, E, half step to F. So let's just test if that sounds like the first fret on the low E. They're the same note. That's an octave up. So when I find the root on the A string, then I'm going to make it an A looking chord. So if I want to play F major, and I find the root on the A string, then I want to make an A major corresponding shape. A major, A sharp, B sharp major, B major, C major, C sharp major, D major, D sharp major, E major, half step to F major. Let's see how it sounds compared to this F. Same chord, different voicings. Same chord, different voicings. So it's the same three notes in a different combination. Some notes are up an octave. It's laid out differently, but that's what's so great is you can actually, the more of these you know, the more options you have to create movement within a chord progression. You know, eventually you don't want everything to just always be those open chords. But this is how you get there. So Barre chords, the two main Barre chords that you're going to see all the time are the E root and the A root. And so now let's just take a moment to take just an easy progression, but then look at the E and A root bar chord options. And this is also what you should be doing with lots of other songs. You know, take songs or when you write your own song, play different voicings of the same chords and experiment with the different changes you hear and the movements and the sounds. Okay, so I'm going to take a basic progression. It's you know, Beatles and Bob Marley, but also like Blink-182, the Axis of Four Awesome Chords. It's so many different pop songs like... You know, that's the power chord version, but I'm going to show you the open cowboy chord version first, and then we're going to use that just as a little study to make sure we can play the bar chords for those same chords. So C to G, and then A minor and F. And you know, there's this folk F, which is just E up a half step, but I'm just not playing the E string. Same chord. So C, G, A minor, F, and I'll play the bar chord. So first, I'm going to just see if I can play just those root notes along the E and the A string. I'll start with just the E string, but eventually you want to combine them so your hand stays in one position or moves and you can play multiple chords in a position, then move somewhere else. It just gives you lots of options. And you get different sounds with different chord voicings. Even though you're playing the same chord, there's different ways to play a combination of the same three notes, and you can find really cool sounds if you know more voicings for the same chords. Obviously, C, G, A minor, and F, if that's all you knew, you couldn't do. So along the E string, C is the 8th fret, G is the 3rd fret, A is the 5th fret, F is the 1st fret. Now let's do it along the A string. C is the 3rd fret. And if you're like, well, how does he have that memorized? I didn't sit and ever memorize it. I just eventually started to see a C chord in lots of songs that I was playing and could see the root. And I could also see open A string, that was memorized, naturally, E, A. And then I started to see, A, B, and C. I started to kind of just count up from the open spot for a while. And it just kept growing, and the more you reference back to things as you play, the more it starts to get memorized. So, C to G. Instead of going, on the A string, it's 3rd fret, 10th fret, and then either the 12th fret or the open A. Those are both A. And then 8th fret A string is an F. A, B, C, D, E, F. So even just that had a completely different sound when I used the open A instead of the high A. Or as you get creative, you do the first time the high way and the second time the low way, and now you're creating more motifs along the chord progression. I'm not even playing a chord progression, I'm just playing single notes. But watch again how it can change just by doing one time on the octave and one time lower. It has a little surprise there. And then if I know them really well along the E and the A string, start combining them together. Now, let me just go through those voicings real quick. All I was doing were the E roots and A roots, and if it had to be a major chord, it would be an A major shape on the A root or an E major shape on the E root. So I said C major to G major. So here's C major, because I'm playing A major, whole step to B major, half step to C major. And you can see that same C root that you have for the open C chord. That same C is on the 8th fret E string with the E major shape. That octave A, 15th fret A string. So how many C chords was that? 1, 2, 3, 4 different just off of that. The one that I didn't put in there was the D shape, which it's actually already part of a C with the open strings, but I'll show you. If I just took a D chord or D triad, E, F, G, A, B, half step to C. But I can also, if I know the B string well, I can find the root right there. C, G, you can use the D minor shape for A minor, and then F. So the D shape, I use D major and D minor there just to show you where this can go. And that's also relates back to the caged. But if you don't know comfortably those A and E roots, the D chord's gonna just be more of a challenge. So, and most of the rock and pop, including the power chords, you know, when you extend out the harmony of the power chord, you get those same bar chords. So C, G, A minor, F, C, G up here, A minor up here, F up here, C, G, A minor, F, C, G, A minor, F, C. See? So this is all progressing from just knowing the notes on the neck, right? We're plugging things in with that. That's why. But you can memorize it naturally. So you should be able to comfortably get through bar chords in songs. I'd say the hardest one when people are starting is probably B flat major. It's just a half step up from A, so it could also be called A sharp. But they're all just extensions of E shapes and A shapes to begin with. All right, I hope you got something from that. Once again, that's a early chapter from my intermediate foundation course over at martymusic.com. And I appreciate your support so much. Please check it out in the description below, and hope to see you again.